Okay, I'm calling to order a meeting of the Audit and Internal Controls Committee of the Nassau Interim Finance Authority at 6:04 p.m. on September 10th, 2020. We have a two-item agenda to consider before the full board of NIFA meets. It is of record. All of the other members of the board who are present are here and are able to ask questions during the course of this meeting, which may limit the questions they may ask in the full board meeting, having gotten a chance to do it sooner. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of our meeting from May 19th. Adam, if you'll make a motion to approve, I'll second, and we can vote on that.
Motion to approve.
And I second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Votes aye. 2 out of 3. But I should note that Mr. Petracca is absent, but 2 out of 3 members of the committee are present, and so we have a quorum and are able to conduct our business. The second item on the agenda is to approve the submission of NIFA's 2021 budget and 4-year financial plan. Just to be clear, that is the budget for NIFA as an organization, not the budget for the county, which we will consider later this year. To walk us through that, I believe I'm going to turn that over to Carl.
All right, thank you, Chris, and good evening.
Good evening.
NIFA approves a financial plan around this time every year, as it must be included in Nassau County's multi-year financial plan. NIFA's financial plan must also be filed with New York State's Public Authority reporting system at the earliest possible date before the fiscal year commences on January 1st. The proposed financial plan for 2021 that I'm submitting for your approval is $150,000 greater than what was assumed in the financial plan adopted last year because of an anticipated extension of up to 6 months of labor negotiations in 2021. These are classified as control period related expenditures that would not be otherwise incurred if the county was not in a control period. Despite this anticipated increase, total for NIFA's core operating expenses in 2021, 22, and 23 are each the same as the plan that was approved by you last year. As noted earlier, our financial plan for control period expenses are projected at $300,000 in 2021, but decreased to $100,000 per year for the subsequent 3 years, the same amount that we presented to you last year, reflecting the potential for continued sporadic activity that we had noted in the recent past. We'll continue to provide for these costs until the lawsuits arising from the wage freeze imposed on Nassau County from 2011 through 2014 are resolved, and if NIFA incurs expenses related to the control period that was enacted on the county in 2011 and the Nassau University Medical Center in 2020. I want to emphasize that NIFA remits to the county all unspent core and control period appropriations. While other components in the financial plan remained largely unchanged, the savings realized in salaries and benefits from 2020 to 2021 result from us rebasing our assumptions for future years downward based upon the lower than budgeted actual levels being expended in 2020. The assumptions that we use to develop our financial plans are in your materials immediately following the document that I'm currently presenting. We've maintained our staff at our current level with an open position if the need arises as we had in past years. If we don't fill that position, we'll require less funding, thereby making more funds available to the county. The plan includes projected inflation-adjusted increases to salary, pension, and health benefits that are allowed by NIFA policy and are in accordance with estimates provided by the New York State Local Retirement System and the State Department of Civil Service. Can I answer any questions regarding the proposed budget?
I would only note, and thank you, Carl, for that. I would note that Mr. Petracca has joined us, a member of the committee and the board, and is on as well, and is also welcome to ask any questions and also participate in the remaining part of this committee meeting.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. And so Carl, I would just commend the staff for putting together a thorough plan. I think for preparing for the contingencies, and as you noted, the one expense that we think might be higher next year than we thought last year is related to ongoing costs of labor negotiations because of the pace of the settlement with each of the collective bargaining units. Although we know we have settled to date with one, and the county executive announced a deal which we'll have to consider with another that leaves another 4 or 5 with whom to settle. So I think that's an appropriate budgetary item. I think we all hope that things will conclude sooner, but we need to prepare for that. I would also point out for the people on the call and those who might be watching it later that the NIFA has a history and a long history of coming in at or under these budgets and remitting more to the county as a result, as part of holding the line on expenses, both for our own benefit, but also as an example. Do any other board members or committee members have any questions for Carl about this item before we consider a motion to approve?
I have one question, Chris.
Paul, Mr.
And
Enns, yeah.
also a suggestion that I have brought up previously, and I think it's becoming more of an issue now. But first off, Carl, what is the inflation rate that you're using for salary and benefits?
We use 4%, which is what's allowed in the NIFA guidelines.
Okay.
Let me just qualify that. Those increases would require action of the employment committee.
Right, the employment committee, it assumes,
estimate.
right, it assumes the
So it's
employment
an
committee will
assumption.
take action. Right,
Yeah.
it assumes that
Okay.
a certain
It's
action,
not
but
It's not a guaranteed 4% increase in.
It's not guaranteed, no.
it's not
No.
for that. It's not for this committee does not rule on that, but the employment committee actually, based on our bylaws, has sole jurisdiction over that. And I think those only reports to the board, doesn't get board approval. So it's important to have any feedback to those committee members, should you have any.
And then what we do in the subsequent years is we actualize the salaries and then base the subsequent years off the actualized salaries, which may be less than the 4% that was allowed in the employee guidelines.
And historically has always been less, far less than 4%.
Yes. We run a tight ship, so you ought to be commended on that. My second point is more of a consideration than a question. Last year at this time, when we went through the budget for NIFA, I had requested or inquired as to why we're not listing on our budget our interest expense. Granted, it's the county's, but it's under our purview, and that issue is becoming, I think, more and more of an issue given some of the considerations we have before us.
Well, I think for that, you'd have to gross up the whole thing for all the sales tax, and that would be more a budget of the county, not of the NIFA board. We can certainly do that, but it's and there should be a debt schedule. The thing about that is it's not discretionary. We simply have to pay that.
Understood, but I just
Contractual.
I would respectfully disagree in that it really is. It's not a county liability. It's a NIFA liability. Granted, it flows through to us, and I think we should have a discussion about having that displayed in this plan.
Well, I think we could display it. We can display it to the public, but to meet the state guidelines, these are the line items that are necessary. So this particular document is prepared for submission to the state, and this is what exists within NIFA outside of the county. Everything else flows through the county. So I think that information is completely available. The staff can certainly, and I believe maybe we should put that on our website so that people.
Right.
people
It already does.
Yeah.
We do post the grossed up budget on our website, and it
Right.
gets filed on a system called Paris. The public
And
authorities.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
I wanna-
netted
I wanna
against our
raise-
sales tax income, correct?
It's sales tax income minus minus debt service, minus the interest. So principal and interest, then minus these expenses, the county gets the rest.
Certainly could be a
Right.
footnote to the
but
statement,
I
Chris,
think,
couldn't
I
it?
think one of the things that needs to be clarified in the Paris system and maybe in our budget is how we are displaying the costs associated with the debt that we've issued. That's not exactly interest expense per se. Maybe it should be characterized as interest expense, but we're associated with our swaps, the remarketing fees, the agent fees. All those fees are now showing up as if it's some sort of discretionary expense that we're paying
No, they're contractual. Yeah.
advisors and whatever contractual, but they are,
Well,
as
Are
we
they-
know from the
so-
report that was issued by the county, these costs were
yeah.
completely misrepresented and
Right,
not
but
taken
that's-
into account as being a cost of the debt and not a cost of NIFA.
But
And
is that a
looked-
function of the Paris system, or is that a function of the fact that the people who wrote the report didn't understand what they were looking at or writing about, and it was reported as incorrectly as it was authored?
Well, they were told what it was and
Thank you.
chose to ignore what they were
Ignored it.
told and reported it anyways to mislead the public. What I want to do is make sure that we're properly displaying control period related costs, and B, costs that have to be taken into account as part of the interest expense or the debt service related to the bonds
Right.
that NIFA has issued on the county's behalf, and not that it's something at the, it's not largesse of NIFA.
No. Well, then I think we should prepare a presentation that leads all that and have that on our website. But I think we need to act. I don't know that we can change the Paris system. We have to input what we have to input. We
Can you do it
probably,
as a footnote, Chris?
I think we need to do something to your point, although I don't know that we can always control the fact that other people will read it and, as they did recently, either not understand it or willfully choose to misrepresent it. Because those are the only two possibilities based on what we saw.
I agree with you, Chris. I mean,
Yeah,
I just don't want to, in the same way, it could be misrepresented if we list the funds that are flowing through us that are expenses associated with the refinancings that we cover.
Yeah.
In the same way, that could be misrepresented. This report that we have in front of us right now could be misrepresented because
Could be. Yeah.
we are spending. This is an operating budget. This isn't NIFA's budget. This is just our operating budget, and it's far more than 3 million because of what the other things that we're doing.
It's $1 billion. It's $1 billion minus 997, netting to 3 million, give or take. Right.
No, that you missed. You're not. I'm not articulating well. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying because all the tax receipts, the sales tax receipts come to us first and then flows to the county. I'm saying the debt that we have issued, we're paying, and so that portion. It's not. I'm not talking about the full amount of money, but it's
So
just the.
Paul, I apologize. Going forward, we will include both versions, if you will, of the.
Even a
NIFA
footnote,
budget.
an added page, this is
What-
the operating budget, but it is important to note that other funds flow through NIFA as expenses on behalf of the county.
But rest assured, what's on our website, I think, talks to the
provides it.
point that you're raising. So,
But this is what goes into Paris, right? This is what goes into the system.
Okay. I'll
Okay,
refer to that, Evan. I appreciate that.
that's
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. So with that, are any other questions on the line items? Any other questions on the details from any committee members or board members who aren't on the committee? Hearing none, Lester or Adam, if you would like to move that we approve.
So move.
Made, second. All in favor?
Second.
Please
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I vote aye as well. The motion is carried, and we will bring this to the full board. And as I mentioned earlier, because board members participated in this discussion, they may choose not to repeat themselves in the full board meeting, which will occur immediately subsequent to this meeting, after our final agenda item, which is for somebody to move that we adjourn.
So move.
Motion adjourned. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye, and this committee is adjourned, and we will remand to the full board. The meeting is yours, Mr. Chairman.
Great. All right, we will now start the regular meeting of the Nassau County Interim Finance Authority for September 10th, 2020. And the first item on the agenda we will consider is the approval of the minutes, directors meeting on August 18th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion